Hey, welcome, and let's talk about how to build an expertise in a new field. Have you ever seen somebody go from zero to the best in the field, it seems, overnight? It doesn't happen that much, but when it does, that person's expertise shines through in such a fascinating way. We're going to talk about some of the ways that you can accelerate your expertise. Let's talk first about establishing a strong foundation and being a student. You know, when you think about building a building, obviously there's a foundation that has to go in before you create something so wonderful. When you think about Elon Musk, for example, he created Tesla before he started sending rockets to Mars. And so everybody creates a foundation, and we have to create that legwork and that foundation in order to be able to accelerate and become an even better expert at that which we want to become. The problem is that a lot of people think that they can just jump into becoming an expert before they've done anything or accomplished anything of significance. I've had so many speakers come to me through the years and they've said, hey, I want to be the top keynote speaker and charge $50,000 a speech. And I say, awesome, where's your website? What have you done? What have you created? And they're like, what are you talking about? They think they can just start at the top when in reality we all have to start somewhere, but we have to build a foundation in order to get to that place where we can really be successful. That's one of the reasons why I teach the ICM process and discovering your signature moves. When you build upon the foundation of your talents, gifts, and skills, then you can highlight your expertise because you now have experience in those things. And so the first thing I would say with building your foundation and being a student is I would encourage you to go to icmprocess.com. Go check out icmprocess.com. I'd like you to download that amazing assessment form that's going to help you to identify, clarify, and magnify your talents, gifts, and skills. It's also helpful to identify for yourself the different things that you're great at and the things that you need to improve at. And so being a student is a great way to accelerate this process. For example, I wanted to be a Las Vegas headliner as my dream career. And that was in my 20s when I was like, that's what I'm going to become. And so what did I do? I went to Las Vegas. I actually bought a ticket to every single show on the Strip that I wanted to see that would help make me better. I watched every great performer. One-man show, the magicians, the comedians, the impressionists. I went to the dance shows, the cirque shows. I went to everything I could on the Strip, and I took notes. I just sat and learned about the foundation of performance. I had heard that years earlier, a guy named Sammy Davis Jr. had done the same process, and that's what sparked the idea for me. Sammy Davis Jr. is famous because he was a part of the Rat Pack with Frank Sinatra and Dean Martin and those great performers and artists. But Sammy Davis Jr. did something interesting. He went to Las Vegas in the 50s and 60s and he watched every show of every performer, and guess what he did? He took the opening and the closing of everyone's show and made that his show. So he did everyone's best number as his entire show. It's kind of an interesting story. But I always think about creating and building the foundation to your expertise. It requires that amount of work. And you know, when the pandemic hit, I lost all of my stage opportunities. Being live in front of an audience is how I've made a living for years. And so I thought, what do I do now? Well, now I had to become a student again so that I could become good at virtual events. Here I am doing a video for you right now. You're watching this. I love that. But think about the transition from being on stage in front of people to now doing it on video. I had to become a student real quick. I was staying up all night just watching YouTube videos. I was hiring the right people that knew exactly what to do to help me get good on camera and to be good at doing a virtual event. It made a huge impact on my life and saved me through the pandemic. So let's talk about immersive learning. That means diving in as deep as possible into the thing that we want to become an expert at. For example, like I said, during the pandemic, I stayed up all night working, and I actually did for months and months trying to figure out how to get good at using all the hardware and the software that I had purchased so that I could be an expert on camera. Here's what happened real quick. I did so many virtual events that eventually people came to me and paid me to teach them how to do virtual events. That's when you know you're an expert. That's when I went from zero. I had literally never done a virtual event before the pandemic and before 2020. And by the end of 2020, suddenly I was teaching it and getting a lot of money from people to learn how to become an expert at that very thing. I find that amazing. So here's some strategies for deep immersive learning. I would say you need to block your time. You could get so immersed into it that you don't sleep at all, and I did that in the pandemic because I had to. But there are times when we need to have balance in life, and so I would say make sure that you strategically block out certain amounts of time to learn that which you want to become an expert at. I would also go check out somebody like Vin Zhang. Vin Zhang is one of the great geniuses of online virtual presenting. Now, I'm giving you that example because here's a guy who was a magician first, but then he built his career into being a virtual presenter who teaches communication, and now he's making millions of dollars doing YouTube as well as communication workshops, and he doesn't even leave his house. His name is Vin Zhang. He started as a magician, then became a keynoter. Now he's the expert of communication online, and you can watch him at vinzhang.com. Another way to accelerate your expertise is to hire real-world people doing that job already and helping you to get to the point where you can apprentice with them until you can essentially do their job. I had a friend named Jordan who helped me in that sensibility where he would come to my house, help me with the virtual stuff, and then eventually I was able to do a majority of what he could. Obviously, he has signature moves. I don't. He's able to troubleshoot way better than me, but you get what I'm talking about. Let's talk about skill stacking. So when it comes to all the different skills that you have, you could take some of the skills that you've learned from here and over here and put them all on top of each other through the years of your experience to where you can make something new of your career if you wanted to today. I like to look at Arnold Schwarzenegger as a great example of this. You remember Arnold, right? You can actually watch his Netflix documentary, which is a 3-part series, and it's fascinating. He first became a bodybuilder and became the top one of all time. Then what did he do? He skill stacked. He then became an actor. He took acting lessons. He has that crazy accent, and yet it worked for him because he was able to take acting lessons and have movies written for him. Then what did he do after he conquered Hollywood as an actor? Do you remember? He became a politician. He's just skill stacking. He then became the governor of California. It's an amazing story. This is a guy who skill stacked because he understood his signature moves. Like I said, go to icmprocess.com to discover yours. There's another example that I love is a dear friend of mine. His name is Thurl Bailey. He was number 41 for the Utah Jazz when I was a kid growing up. Idolized him and I still look up to him today. He's a 6'11" handsome man, but he was a basketball player first, and then he became a singer, and then a speaker, and then a broadcaster. Now he makes a living as the broadcaster for the Utah Jazz. Think about the skill stacking that you have. You have those abilities and capabilities through all the different things you've learned. That's how you create your expertise. Now let's talk about constant feedback loops. I would say finding out from everybody else when we're trying to create a new expertise, that's a tricky one because some people will want you to only do what you used to do and they don't want you to have a new expertise. This happens mostly within our families and our friends, the people that are worried about us shooting for something different where we should stay where we are. I had this happen with me where I was an entertainer and a very successful one, but I wanted to also be a speaker and content creator like we're doing on these videos. It's taken me over a decade to make that transition where people actually take me serious for this. But I believed that I could, with enough studying, with enough practice, become a guy that could do this sort of a thing. And so that'll be kind of part of the problem for you, will be that some people will say, hey, stay in your old expertise, you don't need the new one. But if you believe that you truly need it, then you need to take feedback from the right people. So what I would do when I would speak, as I was the entertainer first, is I would trust people that I truly knew had my best interest at heart. And they would listen to my speeches and they'd say, oh man, you're not saying anything of significance, or you're too entertaining, or you have no content. Those were hard things to hear, but the feedback helped so much to get it so that I could create content that mattered. And I hope that you'll do the same for yourself. Feedback helps. Huge. Here's another thing I did that I just remembered. I invited some of the best speakers in the world to come see me speak. Not just watch a video of me, like come and see me in person. And that's intimidating, as you can imagine. Have them in the back row critiquing me with paper and pen, and I asked them, please write down all the things that you can to help me improve. You see, the best basketball players, they improve through coaching. I believe that coaching is a big part of what we do in terms of creating a new expertise. And so if you're truly serious about this, I would love it for you to reach out to me. Just reach out to Jason at jasonhewlett.com, or you can just type in the comments if you want me to talk to you, because hey, guess what? I would love to talk about how we can get you to that new expertise, whatever the field you're going for. Finally, never stop learning. Be a lifelong learner. Leaders are readers. you know all these quotes, but I'm just saying that never stop learning. It's so fascinating what happens when I talk to somebody and I say, what's the best book you've read recently? And they go, I haven't read a book since college. And I'm like, are you serious? No, if you want to be an expert, you need to be reading, experimenting with your talents and gifts and skills, sharing them with everybody everywhere you go, and making sure that you have the ability to go out there and keep on trying, keep on learning, record yourself, do your best. You can do it. I know you've got it in you. I hope you'll check out icmprocess.com because that's where you can identify, clarify, and magnify your signature moves so that you can build upon that foundation and create your new promise.